Thanks so much for watching Every News Live. I'm Francesca Maxime. Here's a look at the top stories making headlines all around the world at this hour. The man accused of killing a dozen people and wounding dozens of others in a Colorado movie theater last July is back in court for hearings to determine if there is enough evidence to put him on trial. The flu epidemic in Poland is spreading fast, and sooner than usual, health officials have already confirmed dozens of cases, including 2 deaths. Wildfires continue to burn across the southeastern part of Australia, scorching hundreds of acres and forcing evacuations. Firefighters are finding it tough to fight them with blistering temperatures over 100 degrees and wind gusts up to 60 miles an hour. And this is quite an unusual sight. Flowers in ice. A special exhibit in the Ukraine is showing off some beautiful bouquets that are frozen in time. The accused Colorado theater shooter is back in court. He is undergoing hearings to determine whether there is sufficient evidence to try him for last July's mass shootings at an Aurora, Colorado movie theater that left 12 people dead.
One by one, people who'd manned the long lines outside the courthouse in Centennial, Colorado, filtered inside, many of them relatives of those allegedly killed by the suspected gunman.
Son came out here to go to school. He never came back. You know, he came back in a jar. So we'd at least like to know what happened.
You know, we're trying to get through this case, you know, and as emotionally and as mentally intact as we can as victims.
Monday was the first day of a hearing to determine whether there's enough evidence to put Holmes on trial for 160 counts, including murder and attempted murder.
You have a right to remain silent. You have a right to be advised of the charges. The duty judge has made a preliminary determination of probable cause to believe you're committed the offense of first-degree murder.
On July 20th, he allegedly opened fire with assault weapons during a midnight showing of the latest Batman movie, killing 12 people and wounding dozens of others. Families of the victims sat through emotional testimony from police officers who tried to save the wounded. They choked back tears, recalling finding a 6-year-old girl without a pulse and a wounded man trying to jump out of a moving police car to go back for his 7-year-old daughter. They described the shooter as relaxed and detached, the same demeanor he showed in court.
He's heartless. He really is. He has no heart. He has no emotion. He has no feeling. I don't know how could anybody live that way. Hell, I bawled my eyes out inside. He just listened to about the other girls crying. And nothing had to do with my own daughter. Just like when I heard the story about that 7-year-old child. I mean, I'm getting goosebumps right now. It just breaks real hard. It really does.
Well, President Obama has named 2 men to fill top cabinet posts, including former Nebraska Senator Chuck Hagel for Secretary of Defense and White House Counterterrorism Chief Don Brennan to run the Central Intelligence Agency. However, both men are seen as controversial choices, and their confirmation hearings are expected to be quite difficult.
President Obama announced on Monday 2 nominees to fill his cabinet post. Former Nebraska Senator Chuck Hagel was tapped to replace Leon Panetta as Secretary of Defense.
Chuck Hagel is the leader that our troops deserve. He is an American patriot. He enlisted in the Army and volunteered for Vietnam. As a young private and then a sergeant, he served with honor alongside his own brother.
However, the decorated Vietnam veteran has brought controversy with him. Democrats are concerned about derogatory comments he made about an ambassador nominee 15 years ago. Republicans are disappointed Hagel deserted his own party when he supported Obama in 2008 and changed his stance on the Iraq War.
It's the Republicans who I think are most concerned because they see him as having deserted the flock in some sense on what to do about Iraq or what to do about Iran. And they see him as being a little bit too soft on Iran policy, specifically for the decisions we're going to have to make going forward.
The president's nominee for CIA director, John Brennan, has lengthy experience with the spy agency. However, his nomination has caused concern for lawmakers as well, particularly as there is debate over his use of aggressive interrogation techniques.
A 25-year veteran of the CIA, John knows what our national security demands. Intelligence that provides policymakers with the facts, strong analytic insights, and a keen understanding of a dynamic world.
Well, over to North Korea now. Students there at the premier university in North Korea showed Google's chief executive how they surf the internet, including searching Google and Wikipedia. Google's Eric Schmidt and former New Mexico Governor Bill Richardson led an American delegation on a visit to a computer lab at a university in Pyongyang today. It is the first full day of an unusual 4-day trip to North Korea. Now, the students visited by the businessmen and other Americans are among the lucky few to actually even have web access in North Korea, which is considered to have the strictest internet policies on the planet. Most North Koreans are under restricted access, and they have never even surfed the web. Richardson has called the trip a private humanitarian mission, and the visit takes place as the U.S. pushes to punish North Korea for launching a long-range rocket in December. North Korea is also detaining a U.S. citizen accused by Pyongyang of committing hostile acts against the state, and Richardson plans to speak to North Korean officials about Kenneth Bae's detention. Well, Chicago police have a real mystery on their hands. A man who just won the lottery was found dead, and now police are investigating his murder.
This is the last photo taken of Uruzgan. The smiling 46-year-old Chicago man had just won the lottery. But one day after receiving a $425,000 check, he was found dead. After an exam during which the medical examiner found no trauma or unusual substances, it was declared that he died of natural causes until this week. Responding to a relative's pleas, the ME retested Khan and found he had ingested a deadly amount of cyanide.
The cyanide screen came back positive, at which point our office then contacted Chicago PD, and they really geared up their investigation.
The Cook County medical examiner says he hasn't had a cyanide case in 20 years and calls them more common in fictional literature than real life. Cyanide can get into the body by being inhaled, swallowed, or ingested, but it is rarely tested. Police and the ME's office are now working closely together to solve this mystery and will likely exhume Khan's body today.
Well, being that it's an ongoing investigation with the police and the state attorney, I'd rather not say which family member was involved. But they did relay significant concern to our doctor that this may have been something other than a natural death, and then we acted on that.
All right, they'll have to figure that one out. Well, off the coast of Alaska now, the Shell oil rig Kuluk, which ran aground last week, is being towed to safe harbor, where it will be examined to assess its seaworthiness.
The stricken Kuluk drilling rig is towed to safety after it ran aground in stormy weather last week. The Shell oil rig was refloated off the coast of Alaska, where it hit shallow waters in a storm on New Year's Eve. Experts will now assess its seaworthiness in the safe harbour of Kaluda Bay. It's unclear whether the rig will be fixed there or continue on to Seattle for planned maintenance. While the rig sustained some damage, none of its 155,000 gallons of fuel and other petroleum products have leaked into the Atlantic Ocean. An investigation is ongoing into what went wrong.
Well, European unemployment has hit an unacceptable high. That's as one national leader put it, with dire figures in Spain highlighting a growing north-south divide that experts warn will only get worse.
We are experiencing the consequences of a financial and economic crisis and the recession, and as a result of that, unemployment in the European Union has reached levels not experienced in nearly 2 decades, and the social situation is also deteriorating.
Unemployment rate across the troubled 17-nation Eurozone hit 11.8% in November. That is up from 11.7% in October, with the number of people out of work in the single currency area now nudging 19 million. 2 million more people are now asking for state benefits compared with a year ago. Hit by a property market bust and riddled with bad debt in its banks, Spain recorded the highest unemployment rate of all European countries at 26.6%, worse even than bailed out Greece. With people aged 25 or younger, unemployment rates hover around 57%. Incredible. Well, a growing number of flu cases is being reported in Poland as the epidemic quickly spreads all around the country much sooner than usual. The H1N1 outbreak usually begins in January and lasts through March, but Polish authorities say this time it began a month earlier in December. In South Poland, health officials have confirmed 39 cases of H1N1 since December. 2 flu-related deaths have also been reported. Meanwhile, several provinces in northern and central Poland have also reported H1N1 infections. In one school district, students are required to wear face masks at school to prevent flu infections. According to media reports, 90% of the patients in hospital emergency rooms are flu patients. Well, to Syria now. Amateur video posted online earlier today shows violence in various parts of Syria, including rockets being fired close to Damascus. Other amateur video showed smoke rising and explosions in different locations in Deir al-Zor. In Idlib, amateur video showed black smoke rising in the middle of a field, possibly from a helicopter crash. Activists also reported heavy fighting in the suburbs of Damascus, including the Saida Zainab district, and shelling in the towns of Beit Saham and Akraba, both near the Damascus airport. The towns and cities around Damascus have seen relentless fighting in recent weeks as rebels try to push through the government's heavy defenses in the capital. The regime has responded with withering counterattacks that include barrages by artillery and warplanes. And in neighboring Jordan, the harsh realities of winter have set in for the Syrian refugees in the Zatari refugee camp, which has left many angry and frustrated by their current living situation. That frustration and misery boiled over earlier today when dozens of refugees attacked Jordanian aid workers as they distributed bread for breakfast, injuring 7 people. The riot broke out after the region's first major winter storm this year hit refugee camps home to nearly 50,000 people. That particular camp, the Zatari camp. Pools and lakes surrounding tents, as you can see there, stranded refugees, including pregnant women. Rain was intermittent and the wind had subsided by earlier today, but an upcoming snowstorm could create even more problems for people as temperatures were expected to dip below freezing overnight. More than 280,000 people have fled to Jordan since the war in Syria began. To neighboring Turkey now. Heavy snowfall over the past 2 days there continues to wreak havoc, causing school closures and traffic accidents and leaving many roads impassable. In all, at least 7 people have died. Several others have been injured in separate roadway accidents. More than 1,000 village roads across Turkey were closed due to the heavy snow, which played a role in those accidents in different parts of the country. A university student died Monday night when the car she was riding in lost traction on the icy road and veered into a ditch. Another driver in Samsun died Tuesday after losing control of his car and rolling it over. Then a bus carrying 20 passengers in Istanbul overturned, claiming 1 life and injuring 16 people. A car also hit a minibus along the Sanaflora-Gaziantep highway, killing 2 and injuring 10 others. Schools were closed on Tuesday in many districts, and many flights also had to be canceled. Well, firefighters battled scores of wildfires raging across southeast Australia today as authorities evacuated national parks and warned that unbearable temperatures and high winds had led to catastrophic conditions.
The weather conditions are such that we can't do any active firefighting at the moment. The wind's too strong, it's just too hot, and the fire danger rating is still far too high.
In New South Wales, the country's most populous state, more than 130 fires had burned through more than 64,000 acres of land. One fire was threatening about 30 homes near the small town of Cooma, south of the capital of Canberra, and some homes were evacuated as a result there. Wind gusts of more than 62 miles an hour were making it tough to bring those fires under control, however. All state forests and national parks were closed as a precaution, and total fire bans were placed with temperatures surpassing 113 degrees Fahrenheit in some areas. One volunteer firefighter suffered severe burns fighting a grass fire, but no deaths have been reported. Well, to South America now. In Peru, a helicopter crash in the Amazon jungle has killed 7 people, including 5 U.S. citizens. The passengers reportedly worked for Petrominerales Limited, a Canadian-based oil exploration firm.
A deadly helicopter crash in Peru's Amazon jungle. All 7 people aboard died when the aircraft went down on Monday. Among them were 5 U.S. citizens and 2 Peruvians. Rescue crews are now recovering their bodies. Local media reports said the people on board worked for Petrominerales Limited, a Canadian-based oil exploration firm focused on Latin America. The helicopter was operated by the local unit of U.S.-based Columbia Helicopters. Columbia's Lima office declined to comment.
Well, on to a bit of a sweeter story. Honey, they say, is the best substitute for sugar. It is natural, it's sweet, and it's good for you. The only problem, well, bee populations have been affected by a deadly parasite. But in Australia, the only country that's unaffected by that parasite, the number of amateur beekeepers is on the rise, and now they're being trained to spot that deadly parasite in advance.
Urban farming is a good way to cut living costs, reduce food miles, and maintain Australia's biosecurity. But beekeeping is busy work. Doug Purdy looks after thousands of bees at restaurants in Sydney. This rooftop hive is very productive.
Extracting the honey is the fun part.
Purdy says the local produce is soft on the palate, but it's not just about taste.
Well, I think people are becoming aware of the environment and the important thing that the important role that things like bees play in the environment. So with backyard herb gardens, backyard vegetable gardens, you need pollinators, and without beehives you won't have them.
Bee populations across the world are in decline. A parasite called the Varroa mite is destroying colonies. Dr. Dave Alden says backyard beekeepers are Australia's first defense against the parasite.
Australia is the last country that doesn't have it, so we're trying to get people ready for if it arrives and looking out for when it arrives. So amateur beekeepers, backyard beekeepers can play a really strong role, a vital role in first identification.
Architect Elke Haig is keeping an eye on more than 80,000 bees on her garden balcony.
This is one way that I'm able to help with biosecurity for bees, because they're so important to our food supply.
Well, the Las Vegas Consumer Electronics Show, it is one of the most fun things that any gadget geek can go to. On the very first day, they have already showcased the latest in HD TV technology and eye tracking sensors for PCs, and there's still 2 more days to go.
At the Consumer Electronics Show, U.S. television makers are doing their best to convince you to press pause on your HD TV. Make room instead for the Ultra HD television.
The video screen is rapidly changing. We have Ultra HD, which is 4 times the resolution of high definition. Plus, we have connected smart TVs, as well as new types of TV technology like LCOS.
Shapiro says he expects close to 156,000 people to turn up for the Electronics Expo this year.
Well, the industry's had growth in 2012 and will have growth in 2013. We're over $200 billion in U.S. sales, and it's because it's a hot growth area.
Swedish company Tobii Technology demonstrates their Rex product. It marks the latest development with eye-tracking sensors.
So basically, this is an eye-tracking sensor that allows a computer to know exactly where on the screen you're looking. And we integrate that concept of eye control together with keyboard, mouse, or touchpad to create a revolutionary new user interface to the computer.
Canopy is offering an iPhone case that responds to touch while offering safety.
We've developed Sensus, the world's first capacitive touch iPhone case. And what we're doing is actually introducing capacitive touch to the back and to the shoulder of an iPhone case. It still provides the same protection as a commodity case, but introduces real smarts.
CES opens to the public on January 8th and runs until the 11th of January.
Cool. Well, all I need is an iPhone then. Well, 1 in 3 American children is obese, and the numbers and the waistlines keep on expanding. A new study, however, that links watching TV in the bedroom to junk food consumption may shed some light into why. Ebru's Tasmin Mahfouz explores this troubling trend.
We all know that kids love to watch TV and eat junk food, but new studies show that the two activities together is actually really bad for their health.
Do you like to eat chocolate while you're watching TV?
Yes. And she's not the only one.
Almost half the children in America have TVs in their bedrooms. While the kids are watching TV, they're also eating a ton of junk food.
More than 23 million children are overweight or obese. That's nearly 1 out of every 3 children.
Time spent watching TV is time away from what could be healthier activities, exercising, just being active, playing. If a child has one obese parent, that child is 50% more likely to be overweight. If a child has 2 overweight parents, that child is 80% more likely to be overweight.
Some parents have noticed the link between bedroom TVs and children's eating habits.
I have 3 TVs in the bedroom and 1 in the living room, and they like to watch, a lot of TV. Only they like to eat snacks, like junk.
When the kids sit and watch TV, they eat more.
But it doesn't matter where in the world you're from. Kids love sweet treats.
You like ice cream?
Yeah, and that's ice cream.
Take a stick candy?
Chocolata Seviormerson?
I love to eat chocolate.
Television shows hypnotize children that they don't even know how much they're eating.
I love to eat chocolate when I watch TV because the chocolate tastes good and you're watching TV because I like watching TV too.
It's fun and sweet combined.
So now it's up to the parents. The American Academy of Pediatrics recommends children's TV time be limited to 2 hours a day. Researchers also say that vegetables, grains, and nuts lower the risk of obesity. Instead of cookies, fun snacks like Nutella and raisins on celery taste just as sweet.
What do you guys think? Yeah! For Abru News, I'm Tasmin Mahfouz.
Some healthier options. Well, it is a race to the finish in one town in Germany where around 90 teams enjoy competing in the 44th annual Bavarian Sled Racing Championship.
Germans in the town of Garmisch-Partenkirchen have done this for decades. The game is called Hornschlitten, or horn sledging, which in North America is known as sledding. The name of the competition comes from the shape of the sledge, modeled after the horn of a mountain goat. Daredevils and teams of 4 speed down the 1 kilometer or 0.6-mile track. This year, 90 teams have registered for the annual championship, which started out as a local tradition. Peter Strodel was here from the very beginning.
Horn sledging has existed for 44 years. We invented horn sledging, and over the years the numbers increased from 5 to 90 competitors. We never thought that a little club like ours would be able to do anything like that.
While no match for the bobsleigh, the horn sledge can reach speeds of 90 kilometers or 56 miles per hour. But unfortunately this year nobody beat the record of 85 seconds, with the men's winning team clocking a time of 98.
Quite the adventure. Well, here's something beautiful, frozen in time. An exhibition of flowers encased in ice was on display in Kiev, Ukraine. The organizers said the bouquets included more than 1,000 different species of different flowers from all over the world. The display celebrates 2 different art forms, ice sculpture and flower arranging. Each sculpture weighs about 550 pounds, pretty heavy. Special techniques were used in order to create the unusual and delicate pieces. The flowers were first arranged into bouquets and then gradually frozen with distilled water in special cold chambers where the temperature was down to minus 25 degrees centigrade. Probably the only exhibit that you need a fur coat to go and see. All right, well, thank you so much for watching Ebru News Live. I'm Francesca Maxime. Please stay tuned to Ebru News for all your latest headlines. I'll see you back here again tomorrow. Have a good day.